Atiesh, staff of the legendary Guardian Medivh, and Khadgar, first caster legendary ever in the game, and nearly 20 years later, highly overdue for a remake. And it just so happens that I once followed the Blender tutorial, so without wasting more time, let's begin. I'll never fully be convinced that Atiesh is not a pinecone, but if you ask Chris Metzen himself, the inventor of lore, he'll declare it's a bird on a stick. And a bird on a stick would just be a stick without a bird on the stick. So I started by making the bird, beginning by sorting out the basics for his little bird head. It's meant to be a raven, but getting it to actually look like one was tricky. Animal shapes have subtle differences that really make or break their resemblance. But he'll look a lot less like an emperor penguin once his bottom beak is in place and his silhouette is complete, for better or worse. Leaving that one up to you. Until very recently, I actually thought that they remade Atiesh during Legion, probably by virtue of the fact that it's an absolute anomaly that they didn't, given that Khadgar has been using this thing for like 8 years. Shout out to Dinkeldor, cause if he hadn't told me, I would have still thought that they did, but hey, here we are. After the head, I had begun making the body of the bird. I'm doing something that I'm agnostic about whether I'd actually like Blizzard to do it in a remake, but I'm making the bird a good bit bigger, making the whole thing just a lot more readable from a distance. I feel like if Atiesh was a modern weapon, that's what it would look like. Very much a matter of personal preference though. Anyway, the bird being mostly done, the only thing missing was the stick. Thought about it and decided a few more details were warranted. The top of Atiesh has this drapey ribbon, cloth, napkin, scarf hanging off the side, which wraps itself sloppily around the top of the shaft. You heard me right. Now please comment and boost my algorithms. Where the analogies hopefully end, however, is that I tied some string around the base of the thick bit at the end before slicing up the middle bit to create different segments, adding some extra cuts to make the shape more interesting. I did some similar work on the bottom of the staff, but I made the pommel a bit bulkier than it is in the original to create a bit more of an, a bit more interesting shape and make it a bit more stylized feeling. Then finally, even though they don't need them, birds have feet. I modeled some nice and simple ones so that my little raven friend has got something to hold on to his little perch while he sits and ponders. Oh, and I also modeled all the bullshit that hangs off the drapey bit, but I forgot to record it. You might think that it's not that hard to simply make sure your OBS is running while you work, and it's not. I'm just stupid. And with all that done, my bird on a stick went from looking like this to this. Now before that magical moment where we bring this little fella to life, a word from my awesome sponsor. Starforge PCs. You're looking for a new computer? Well, don't look any further. I mean, dude, you just get a computer, but get a Starforge one, that's what I'm trying to say. No matter what your budget is, Starforge will have a PC that fits just what you're looking for. Looking for something lighter and affordable? The Horizon series will get you that. Looking for the kind of PC worth putting on a Tinder profile? The Voyager series will have you married before Christmas. Especially if you get some of these sweet custom cases and plate lights to customize that beauty. The PC, not the wife. As a matter of fact, if you like custom stuff, you can even get one of their limited edition builds. All of it comes with a 2-year parts and labor warranty. That's premium quality, excellent service at an accessible price. Oh, just make sure you use my link. It's on the screen as well as in the description. Now, on to the most satisfying part of the video. After having finished and UV unwrapped the 3D mesh, it was time to texture Atiesh. As always, the first step was to put down some basic tones for the model. Trying to find the colors, the highlights, the shadows, basically the general outline of what the model is going to look like. Not to be eye candy just yet, but to have the general look established and act as a base to build on top of. I would move in to gradually paint the details onto the model. I think a nice tip for people learning how to hand paint models is to first paint what you want your model to look like from far away, then from a bit closer, then from a bit closer, etc. It's helpful both for the actual painting process, but also to have more deliberate control over the final look that you work towards. Anyway, one of the fun things about this model is that it's completely made of wood. I haven't painted a lot of wood in my previous videos, so I was looking forward to it. The only unfortunate thing is that the model looks like it was cut with one of those fruit slice things, so the dark lines would kind of bury all the wood grain. But yeah. By the way, quick public service announcement. I'd fallen quite behind on sorting out the files for all my models and putting them up for download. First of all, my apologies for this. Second of all, they're now all available to download on my Patreon. Of course, like before, completely for free. Free as in, no need to sign up, download them, and immediately cancel. Non-members can grab them too. Just, you're good. Just get them. And by the time this video comes out, I'll make sure that the files for Atiesh will be on there too, so you can just go and grab them as soon as you're done watching the video 5 times all the way through, and liking, commenting, of course, subscribing, ringing the bell icon, all of it. When you're done doing that, just make sure to send me screenshots and videos of all the cool stuff you do with the models, because I love that shit. That said, with a decent base coat done, it was time to paint the details on. Much like my dating life used to be, this bird largely consists of a bunch of blocks. Between those blocks are cavities, which I would paint to look more like cracks later, but I first just wanted to find the placement. Painting wood to look like wood is not the most difficult thing in the world, usually. However, the thing that's important with adding details is to keep in mind the scale of the thing you're making. You shouldn't make infinitely small details, and the blocky pattern didn't leave me much room for cracks in wood grain to make sure it doesn't just end up looking like a bird waffle. Luckily, the face of the bird was an exception, so I could shove all my visual clues in there. I also painted some line work on the wraps, even though they didn't even need them that much, but I did it. Now for something that had no right to take as long as it did. Painting the diamond pattern on a low poly cylinder. It looks easy in the video, because this is only the successful attempt, but man. Next, I painted the details onto the little bits of rope, which wasn't too hard, just little lines. The wood grain was also fun and easy. Just some wavy noodles up and down the shaft, you basically have wood. Just gotta not overdo them, because it will look like hair. Then the devil came back into my life for a bit, after which it went back to a brief moment of bliss, painting some more wood grain onto sticks. I didn't want the pommel, if that's even what you call it on a staff, to be too plain, so I painted some magic-y, wavy, fun-looking lines on it just to make it look nicer. I also had the little dangly bits on the drape that I'm still not sure that drape is the correct word to use, but you best believe I painted it all. I didn't bother doing these coin things in stages, so I just painted the whole thing in one go. So enjoy that. I also had to paint the drapey thing itself, trying to match the level of brightness as well as detail to that of the part which is wrapped around the staff. I also wanted the part where bones stick through for some reason to have some level of three-dimensionality, using light. The wrap bit looked like AI art, so I went over it again and tried to make it look less random and more like at least some degree of human thought had gone into it. After which I went ahead and painted in the highlights for the rest of the weapon. I tend to do these last, and I am by no means the only person that does so, but I kinda want to switch to doing at least some of them in the early stages. It plays into the thing that I said earlier of having control over the direction your model goes into. I think establishing at least rough placement early on just gives you an anchor, especially since I spend a lot of these last stages zoomed in, and I cannot easily tell the way that what I'm doing affects the look from afar. Then, my spectating friends, came at last, the moment where I'd finish up the bird. I really did a complete redo of my initial groundwork here because I just, I don't know, didn't feel like enough of it was left after the blocks had been painted on, so I went in and redid all that stuff, except for the head. The head was fine. Actually, the head was quite nice. I made some more room in there to really lay down the highlights of the little surface details, and yeah, no, really did a lot for the whole thing. Kinda makes me want to do more wooden stuff. There should be plenty of wooden props to make the day that I won't say too much about that yet. Special thank you to my incredible supporters on Patreon. Shout out to the newcomers, Kathleen Tipton, Nibius Frost, and Wallace Vienna. And as always, shout out to the Ultra Mega Chats, Dumbo Jimbo, Dinkeldork, Flora, and indeed, Wallace Vienna. You guys are awesome. If you like what I do here and you'd like to support me, consider becoming a patron, or my first channel member. That's right, it's been open for a while, but nobody's done it. So you'll be the first, and actually force me to change the title of the Patreon screen, or not. And just subscribing, liking, and all that stuff, it'll help a lot as well. Okay, bye.